Hi Evergreen, let's do chapter 6, lesson 4, equations with squares. So here's a party of some numbers and they say, oh, hey, who's the square? Now, people used to call like people that weren't really fitting into the crowd squares. And you see how he has a little square up there? Okay. Okay, so square root property of equality. If two positive numbers are equal, then their positive square roots are equal as well. And so a number squared, and then we take the absolute value of it, not the absolute value of it, the square root of it equals the absolute value of that number. And so here's a little picture of that again. And the square root and squaring a number are the opposites of each other. And so therefore they cancel out. And do you see how we're left with x equals x? Except the only difference is that a number squared can either be positive or negative, equaling a positive solution. We're going to take a second and go back to the lesson plan and click on a little video short that's about 1 minute. And it fully explains this idea super well. I like the way they do it. And go ahead and do that now. Okay, so 6 times 6 equals 36, right? Yes, but also negative 6 times negative 6 also equals 36. And so that's why whenever you take a square root of a number that is squared, the answer will always be this number, but the absolute value of it. So that means that this number could be positive and negative to equal making this correct. Let's dig into some examples and see if this makes sense. So the square root, x minus 5 squared equals 49. So the first thing that we're going to do to be able to solve this equation and figure out what x equals is we need to take the square root of the left and the square root of the right. We have to do the same thing to both sides of the equal sign to make it maintain its equality. Okay, so we're going to take the square root of both sides. When we do this, do you remember how this cancels out the squared? Taking the square root. And so then we're left with x minus 5. On the right side, square root of 49 is a nice perfect root, square. It equals 7. And you notice that I added the absolute value of negative x minus 5 because we talked about the square root and the square. Each of these, a squared number, could equal a positive solution, even if it was a negative number or a positive number. That is why we have a square root symbol. An absolute value symbol. So we're actually going to solve this twice, just like we did in the lesson before. We're going to rewrite this x minus 5 equals 7, and then we're going to solve this x minus 5 equals negative 7 also later. So whenever you see a solution like this, where you're going to have to take the square root of a squared equation, you will have a positive and a negative equation that you will create, and then you will have two solutions. So let's solve this one. We're going to add 5 to both sides. X equals 12. Rewrite this. X minus 5 equals negative 7. Add 5 to both sides. X equals negative 2. And so our solution set is 12 and negative 2. Both of those numbers would make this squared equation true. Okay? So we had 12 minus 5. This would equal 7. 7 squared is 49. Now also, if we took this negative 2 and we plugged it back into here, we'd have negative 2 minus 5, which would give us negative 7. Negative 7 squared is 49. And so that is why after you take the square root of a squared number, you have to take those numbers and put them in absolute value. And then you know that your solution is either going to be positive or negative. It could be either one. Okay, let's keep practicing. So x plus 3 squared equals 100. We're going to take the square root of both of them. That will give us the absolute value of x plus 3. That eliminates the square root and the square. And then the square root of 100 is a perfect 10. So we leave it as 10. We're going to rewrite this twice. First equaling 10, and then second equaling negative 10. We subtract 3 from both sides, x equals 7. We're going to rewrite this. X plus 3 equals negative 10 minus 3, x equals negative 13. The two solutions are 7 and negative 13. Okay, now x plus 2 squared equals 74. Now 74, whenever we take the square root of this, is not going to be a lovely perfect square. So therefore, we are going to keep it in under the radical in this format. Or else we would be rounding off a number, and then our answer, as we've been using it, would get farther and farther away from accurate. And so we are going to leave it in a square root of 74. So the absolute value of x plus 2 equals the square root of 74. So far, everything's the same, except we don't have an even square. We're going to rewrite this. X plus 2 equals the square root of 74. And then later, we're going to rewrite x plus 2 equals negative 74. But don't let me skip too far. Now we're going to subtract 2. And in our calculator, we are going to put exactly this. Negative 2 plus the square root of 74. And then you're going to hit enter. And this will be your solution. You're going to round it to the nearest hundredths place. Now we're going to do the same thing, except take our absolute value and make it equal the negative square root of 74. Now the negative sign is going to go on the outside of it. And so we are going to subtract 2. And in our calculator, we're going to write exactly this. Negative 2 minus square root of 74. And this time we get negative 10.6. These two numbers are our set of solutions. Number 7. X minus 8 squared equals 39. Take the square root of both of these. Negative 39 will not be a perfect square, so we're going to leave it under the radical. The absolute value of x minus 8 equals the square root of 39. Rewrite this. X minus 8 equals 39. Add 8. Put this exactly in your calculator. X plus the square root of 39 equals rounded 14.24. Do this again. Since the absolute value of x minus 8 equaled the square root of 39, x minus 8 equals negative square root 39. Add 8. So we're going to write exactly this in our calculator. X minus the square root of 39, then hit enter. 1.76. These two numbers are your set of solutions. Number 9. Same thing, and you can tell that 86.2 will not be a perfect square, so we are going to keep it under the radical exactly the same way as we have been the last two times. We're going to rewrite this. X minus 7 equals the square root of 86.2. We're going to rewrite this again, and we'll write it equals the positive and the negative of the square root of 86.2. We add 7. In your calculator, you will type 7 plus square root 86.2. Enter. Round your answer to 16.28. Write this again. X minus 7 equals negative square root of 86.2. Add the 7. Write this in your calculator exactly. 7 minus square root 86.2 equals negative 2.28. These two numbers are the solutions to this equation. Number 11. Ooh, I am going to have an easy time this time. Well, not easier. It's just one less kind of keystroke in our calculator later. This is going to end up a nice even 9. So the absolute value of 2x plus 5 equals 9. Rewrite this equaling positive 9 and negative 9 later. Okay, so we will subtract 5 from both sides, and we get 2x equals 4. Divided by 2, x equals 2. 2x plus 5 equals negative 9. Subtract 5 from both sides, and we get 2x equals negative 14. divided by 2, x equals negative 7 and 2. 13. Okay, square root of 19, it's not going to be a perfect square root, so we're going to leave it under the radical. We end up with the absolute value of 3x minus 11 equals the square root of 19. Rewrite this, we're going to end up with a positive 19 and a negative 19. 3x minus 11 equals the square root of 19. Add 11. In your calculator, you are going to write several things at once, and then you're going to hit enter. Leave this all in your calculator. 11 plus square root of 19. Then you're going to hit enter. Leave that number in your calculator, and then you're going to write divided 3, enter, and you should get 5.12. Next, we're going to rewrite this equaling negative 19. We add 11 to both sides. In our calculator, you're going to write 11 minus square root of 19. Hit enter. Then you're going to divide by 3. Just hit divide, 3, enter. X equals 2.21. These are our two solutions. 5 and 12 hundredths, 2 and 21 hundredths. 15. Square root of 6 will not be a nice little number, so we're going to leave it in our radical. The absolute value of 5x plus 14 equals the square root of 6. Rewrite this equaling positive square root of 6 and negative square root of 6. Subtract 14 in your calculator. Write negative 14 plus square root of 6. Enter. Then hit divided by 5. X equals negative 2.31. Again, 5x plus 14 equals a negative square root of 6. Subtract 14 in your calculator. Write negative 14 minus square root of 6. Enter. Then hit divided by 5. Enter again. X equals negative 3.29 and negative 2.31. Okay. Equals 0. Is that okay? Yes, it is. If you put this into your calculator and you write the square root of 0, it just is going to equal 0. And so we're going to write this. The absolute value of 3x minus 2 equals 0. Is this allowed? Yes. Absolute values are allowed to be 0 or any positive number. Rewrite this equaling negative 0 and positive 0. Oh, do we have to do that? No. 0 is perfectly neutral. So we are only going to do this one time when it equals 0. We add 2, and then we divide by 3. X equals 2/3. One solution if it equals 0. 19. 6 minus x squared equals 14. Take the square root of both, and you will have the absolute value of 6 minus x equals the square root of 14. 6 minus x equals the square root of 14. Subtract 6, and we're going to type this in our calculator. Negative 6 plus the square root of 14 equals, and then divide by negative 1, or you just know whatever your answer is, it's going to be the opposite sign, so it's positive 2.26. We're going to do it again, except equaling negative the square root of 14. We're going to subtract 6 and write in our calculator negative 6 minus square root of 14. Enter. And then divided by negative 1, x equals 9.74. 21. Now we have decimals, but it doesn't matter. We're just going to solve it the exact same way. Square root of both of these first. Absolute value of x plus 4.1 equals the square root of 7.4. We're going to rewrite this twice, equaling positive and negative square root 7.3. Subtract 4.1, and in our calculator we will type negative 4.1 plus square root of 7.3 equals negative 1.4. Do the same thing, except equaling negative square root of 7.3. Subtract 4.1, In your calculator, write negative 4.1 minus square root of 7.3 equals negative 6.8. These are your two solutions. 23. Take the square root of both of these. We have the absolute value of 7x plus 3.5 equals the square root of 88.9. Rewrite this equaling the positive and negative of the square root. We will subtract 3.5. In our calculator, we type negative 3.5 plus square root of 88.9, enter, divided by 7, enter. 0.85 will be your solution. When we rewrite this as 7x plus 3.5 equals negative square root of 88.9, we subtract 3.5. In our calculator, type negative 3.5 minus square root of 88.9, enter, divided by 7, enter, and you get negative 1.85. 25. A little bit more decimals, that's okay. We're going to do the same thing. Square root of both of them, absolute value. Rewrite this as the positive and negative of the square root. Subtract 7.3. In your calculator, type negative 7.3 plus square root of 242.5, enter. Then divided by 0.4, enter. And your answer will be 20.68. Lots of calculator work here. So make sure you're typing the right thing in your calculator. Let's rewrite this equaling negative square root of 242.5, subtract 7.3. In your calculator, type negative 7.3 minus square root of 242.5, enter. Divided by 0.4, enter, and you get negative 57.18. Okay, ooh, it's going to be a nice perfect square. This will be fun. So square root of both sides. Absolute value, x minus 8 equals 8. And this time we're going to write it twice, equaling negative 8 and 8. So we're adding 8 on both sides, and x equals 16. And then we rewrite this again. X minus 8 equals negative 8. We add 8 to both sides, and it'll equal 0. And that's okay. If 0 is your answer, write 0 down. 16 and 0 are the solutions to this equation. You can see why the answer is 0. 0 minus 8 would be negative 8. Negative 8 squared is 64. 16 minus 8 is 8. 8 squared is 64. Okay, now, can you square a number and equal a negative number? No. If you have a positive number squared, it's positive. If you have a negative number squared, it's positive. So therefore, this has no solution. A squared number always is positive. Okay, great job, Evergreen. You're doing amazing.